Good evening. This is Cara Coffey of the Ministry of Uncover No More. This is the first time I'm doing something in America, particularly in the current social media climate that all generations find ourselves in. I've decided to play pretend because I have people in my life that don't know what to do with me. And I think they genuinely would like to get along with me. I'm turning off the fan. I will go ahead and let my cats out of their little places because they were eating. Let's hope that Baymax, who is taking a nap in the sink, doesn't decide to ask for seconds because he gets really stink pottish when he does that. This is my blankie for doing small ball exercises. Okay, I'm going to lock the door so that somebody doesn't decide to ask me a question when I'm trying to talk to. Who am I going to talk to today? How I'm pretending is that I have a podcast, which I don't have. I have YouTube. And I want people to see how those of us that have voice, but this current society is, well, okay, this is John. Okay, hi, John. This cruelty is the Trump effect on America. So I've been sitting here for about 45 minutes. My ankles hurt, my wrists hurt. And that's because I'm a woman that just keeps working. And I'm my birthday is in April, and I'm that one, the horoscope. Oh my goodness, I'm very tired tonight. Anyway, we're leadership. I'm so sorry. And a lot of times we're type A personalities. I have a son born on my birthday, and we're very similar. And sometimes we'll get together and talk. We are complete opposites when it comes to politics, so we've had to learn to stop talking about that, or talk about it in such a way as that we don't bite each other's heads off, literally, face to face or otherwise, because we could just argue all the time, but we can also agree about a lot of things. So we're learning to do that, and that's a joy that I have with one person. And I have 10 children, so 1 of 10. We're actually at a point where we can slow down and do that together. And that's cool. But John, I'm pretending tonight to have a podcast on my YouTube because I'd love to talk to you about this article. Actually, you're not the only one that featured this woman. Another gentleman who gets a hold of people around people like this and find out who they are and actually tell their employers and stuff. But see, they don't do what people like these in this Trump effect people, they don't do what they do, because the Trump effect people will try to start fights with you publicly and stuff, which is what this woman was doing. The gentleman that I follow on Twitter like that, his first name is Michael. He's also on TikTok. And so I found him on TikTok today to keep watching what he does, because it's amazing. And he has people that support him in what he does, okay? He doesn't do podcasts. I don't know if John does a podcast or not. I believe he may be an author. And can I say your last name? John Pavlovitz. I hope I said it right, John. My last name, my married last name is Coffey. And that's very easy to say in this day and age. So I'm pretending to do a podcast with you, and I'm going to actually read this article and discuss it with you. And I'm going to show y'all, before I do, some artwork that's going to go on a blog. But the thing is that I've told John on Twitter that I'm also going to throw runes, and I'm not going to show that. And that means I will put what I think through as I pretend to have a podcast. So that means John's somewhere else and we're talking on the phone. So So we would have been able to bounce ideas with one another in a nice way, because I agree with him. And so I would make sure, if I was privileged to talk to him, that I wouldn't talk about things as much if we were going to disagree. But I can tell by the way he's writing this article that if I was privileged to meet his entire family, I would probably be able to hug them all and completely agree with most things that they are, if they're actively discussing things. Now, I don't know how many children John has. I have 10. And I can't talk about the current situation in my family because I was betrayed, and there was a lot of pressures put on my family, and they need healing time. And so I'm in a place with my family that compels me to do my ministry work with other authors differently now. And that's all I can say about that as far as why I'm changing and pretending to do a podcast. If I was going to admit my spiritualism, I will tell you that I just summoned John, and it really is like I'm discussing this with him. But I don't expect you to believe me, America, because you don't believe that the king is dwelling on the earth. And that's bullshit. And I have worked 14 years with the king dwelling on the earth since 2008, and produced miraculous connection after miraculous connection all over the place. Had to hit delete or destroy a lot of my work to keep my family safe. And now you just heard that my family is still disagreeing with one another. And what you'll find out if you listen much to people like me, I lost my inheritance. My mother's family is viciously toxic. I lost my inheritance, and I've had people point blank tell me their stories about siblings and inheritances, and this is not abnormal. Okay? I will tell you that the parents in this family trained their kids better. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm so sad, and that this is a reality, that I'm going to discuss this with John Pavlovitz, who wrote it. But again, I've seen this video with another gentleman on Twitter, and so just pretend this is a podcast. I'm going to read his words and just discuss it with him. So one piece of artwork, you will see where I have highlighted the two areas. I probably won't read the whole article, but I've highlighted 2 areas that I'm going to put into, I'm going to copy. But what I have put on Twitter, pinned it, and told John that I would do is throw runes. And so this particular article is going on my agnostic website. I have admitted a little spiritualism to you today, this evening, but not nearly as much as I could have. That's because somebody else is talking to me. And we're not going to talk about that anymore in my ministry. That's because he's telling me not to do that. And if you don't know who I'm talking about at this point, you're in trouble. America, you're in trouble. But John and I aren't. So now you know. I've warned people for years, don't underestimate me. So now you know. That's not a threat, just like Mr. Michael. I'm in my room. I've set it up to do my ministry. So what do you think I'm doing? Goodbye, America. I have my places to go. I have my people I trust. And that's all that exists to me anymore. And I've already announced today with a witness liking it on a blog, because the king has sent in witnesses on my blogs. He's already announced to you on one account that he has over 1 billion followers on one of his accounts that he lost through Twitter, or the one that he currently is using, and he holds the numbers down. I informed family members quite some time ago that my numbers and everything were held down. I don't know how I knew that. That's what it is to be me. And so now it's nobody's business. Okay. So I'm not going to explain that anymore. So it's one article, and I happen to know that I can trust John Pavlovitz with this kind of general explanation. This cruelty is the Trump effect on America. I have been informing people about including my therapist, about the cruelty and about the sadistic, mildly sadistic behaviors around me, hitting me for quite some time. So I'm not surprised that John would use such a strong word. Cruelty is true. Socially cruel, privately and publicly, is an item that we need to talk about bravely. But don't expect me to admit anything, but you need to straighten your ass up. And since I'm using John's information, his well-written article, I'm not talking about him either. And he would have to tell you about his family, but I can certainly tell you about mine. I'm not going to do it. That's between them and me. Okay. Yesterday, a video showed up on my timeline of a middle-aged white woman in a grocery store following another woman and her daughter around, intentionally coughing on them, smirking and spewing sarcastic nonsense about having allergies, and attempting to deliver some bizarre gotcha anti-mask rebuke. Her act of assault was pathetic and sad, and I wish I could say it was the worst thing on my newsfeed in that moment. Directly underneath that was video, and he did link it, of hundreds of anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers protesting in front of a hospital in Texas, that's where I live, whose state has 100,000 new COVID cases a day. While inside, more people were taking their last labored lonely breaths. Literally. Only an inch below that post was a tweet, again he linked it, from Ohio Representative Jim Jordan with a video of 80,000 Wisconsin University football fans accompanied by the declaration that, quote-unquote, real America is over masking and distancing. It was... I'm very distant. I ain't over it. It was punctuated with a non sequitur, God bless, for good measure. Apparently, no one told Jim that we've lost this many Americans from COVID in the past month and a half, or more likely, he does know and doesn't give a damn. It's that more likely. Within the span of one computer screen, 3 displays of unthinkable cruelty, 3 grief-worthy moments. Yeah. I have worked long and hard, have 5 Twitter, have worked my notifications to a sharp point, and don't even want to read the people that are like myself that completely support the king right now. Because they can't control this narrative any more than John and I can control it. Some of them that I listen to, George Hahn is one. He's completely alone too. I'm just glad I can watch them from a distance, doing the same thing I'm doing. I've taken it a step farther. And I am so relieved to be here. And I put it on one of my blogs, but it's one of the more obscure ones. And he already knows, just in case anybody's listening to this that knows me. He already knows. He's already made it known that he reads my blogs. So, yeah. And I wish these stories were aberrations. I wish they were at all unusual. But they are commonplace now. In this iteration of our nation, the elemental decency that should define human beings is no longer a universal requirement. The base level expectations of those we live in community alongside simply do not exist anymore. There is no standard anymore, and I've known that for quite some time. Iteration is a word. I'm going to read it to you right now because in one of my 2 artwork pieces for 2 different blogs, I will put the definition because I'm a good little teacher. But this is a new thing. Do you see how I've used the orange pencil? Well, I used it in the dictionary. This was my parents' dictionary. It was in my parents' house. I just lost my pencil. I'll find it later. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll use this big pen. Used to be my favorite pens, but when I was more serious about my artwork, I stepped it up. But I think I get these every once in a while and still use them. They're good for like 10 pages like this. This is the 23rd, so I'm going to put 9/23, 2021. And I'm going to fill this book up, hopefully, with how I use definitions in my artwork with my beautiful handwriting as I continue to have pretend podcasts with people who are in the same position I am. You define that how you want to. John and I are both probably Gen X. I don't think he's old enough to be baby boomer, but I may be wrong. Okay. I don't honestly know face to face any baby boomers who are universalists. So I'm at a loss there. And yes, the baby boomers are a little harder for the king and I to deal with. And Gen X is very highly represented in Tribe Judah. I will tell you that. Aries. I'm Aries. And I'm not the only reason that Gen X is very highly represented in Tribe Judah elect. So, but I'm an Aries girl in the modern day, representing Gen X, and that's yeah, I can feel that sometimes. Not to mention, people in the Christian world know that I'm a moon goddess. I'm the moon goddess, or a moon goddess, or a high-level moon goddess because of the Tribe Judah election, as well as being Aries. And oh yeah, that stuff's real. That stuff's real as far as there's power with the seasons of the moon and whatnot. And I don't pay attention a whole lot because I don't have to. I just do the work that I need to do. It is getting easier as I begin to do things like this. Pretend that I'm on a podcast with John Pavlovitz and his family. It's like they're in the room. And we're laughing about the word iteration. And I wonder how many Gen Z actually understand the word iteration. I am Gen X and thought, okay, I need to look this up. I've heard the word, but what's the context? You know. Yes, I taught English today. Iterate is a verb. To say or do again or again and again. Reiterate. In this iteration, so what he's talking about is how over and over again we look at our screens and you can pick out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 situations where it's cruel, It's rude. It's sexist. It's racist. It's public. It's obvious. It's all over TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. That's iteration. There is no standard anymore. And he's correct. Okay, so I'm just going to skip ahead, John. I hope you don't mind. Okay, the volume of these incessant acts of malevolence are wearing out decent people. Okay, did you remember me saying that my ankles and my wrists are actively hurting because I've had children and I've worked 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 and I've worked, and that's physical work, sweethearts. We were single and still are a single income family. I was disinherited. So, you're looking at least a $500,000 property that should be mine right now. I had to go through $65,000 that my parents actually did leave me, even though my mother disinherited me, and it was ugly. She was not nice by the end of her life to me. And I had to spend through $65,000 to help some of my children make it out of that hellhole. Nobody cares. I've been blamed for so much shit. It's ridiculous. Nobody asks me what I want to do with that property either. That's immoral. I'm worn out. And it's physically, fam. I've already broken down crying with my 8th child once and told her I'm probably going to have to go to handicap status at some point in the not too distant future. I am waking up in chronic pain every day. But I said, committed to the love of myself, that I would not take pain medication. I will take Motrin occasionally. I need to tonight. After the second COVID shot, I swelled up in my joints, and my joints are still hurting. They are getting better. I'm slowly getting back to bike riding. That's easier on my ankles and my knees. I'm slowly getting back to tons of small ball exercises, large ball exercises. I'm going to add Pilates. I'm going to be doing that as I continue to work, and I am learning to walk away from absolute things that need to be done. There's plenty of people in the house, and that's been true for 15 years. People found ways to just stay away and leave me with all of it to do. Okay, that's sad, it's cruel, it's wrong, and then they walk off in nice lives. And I am definitely not the only person like this, but I'm one of them. Don't expect me to say anything different than the truth, because the lies told about me are just that. No, you're not allowed to believe lies about me. Do you know how many people I've helped, America, in this 55-year life is in the Christian world? No, you don't. Because they all walked off. This quickly metastasizing moral cancer is something we've never experienced on this level in our lifetimes, and it's something we're going to have to reckon with regardless of the political outcomes of the next 4 years. If the former president somehow takes that office again, John, I'm not being ugly to tell you something. It doesn't matter which Republican is offered up. It is the same disease. They are all gone astray, John. And the Democrats literally do not have the courage to do the correct thing. Everybody is still pussyfooting around capitalism, Wall Street, Big Pharma, political action committees, and the Electoral College situation. And they Can't even kick out the filibuster, which is illegal. Come on. Come on. This is bullshit. If the former president somehow takes that office again, these stories will surely grow exponentially more violent and more commonplace, but either way, the ugliness is here now. I don't know about it growing more commonplace or ugly. I am definitely, when I consult the runes for this, not going to ask about that. I am determined that the ancient ways of the runes will not touch this cancer that is very real, this cruelty that is here. They call it the Trump effect. That's bullshit. But I understand why we are putting it to the Trump effect. That's fine. I'm not denigrating that. This has been festering since before I was born in 1966, and it is far flung. I will say what I have repeated privately a few times, may have even written it, but I don't write that way anymore, so it's over as far as me giving political opinion in writing. I'm not going to write that way anymore. It's meaningless. But I did say to some people who actually are pro-Trump in my life, the one thing that the man did, and my daddy said this, he didn't hide his illegality. Well, what we know now, and there's a book coming out, and I've decided not to read it. I'm done. It was so obvious that criminals have taken over. That why keep belching this out? Well, that's another podcast. I'm not even going to talk about that today. But I will say, any form of hiddenness for this illegality, criminality, psychologically batshit crazy, but with a reason of wanting to just control. You know, it did no good to call Hitler batshit crazy, now did it, America? And we're not even talking about the Asians, America, who lost in wars and whatnot. If you look around the time of the world wars and everything, yeah, the Asians lost more than the Jews did. But it doesn't matter. It's all loss, and it's horrific loss. And we're not competing about wickedness. We're just not going there. And just like I'm not going to allow the ancient runes to deal with cruelty, the Trump effect. What we're calling it right now is the Trump effect. We need to change that narrative of using Trump's name, because it's just feeding the positivity that the MAGA, that the conspiracy theorists and all of them use. And they're still getting media time. So the criminality is still widespread. And so I don't, I'm changing my mode of authorship, as well as how I discuss these things, as well as being very careful. I'm being very careful how I throw runestones, deal tarot cards. I have two types of tarot cards that I deal with. How I write in the books that I am writing in, because I am a bookmaker in the modern day. That these books do not get published. I tried to publish. Because of the nature of my relationship with the King of Kings, yeah, everything I'm going to do is going to get destroyed, because people hate him everywhere and what he stands for. And that's just bullshit. That's just bullshit. He's already declared on one of my websites, because I put him up there, thank you, sir, this isn't Christian. You're correct, Cara. Okay. He's as kind as he can be. He is as gentle as the good book says he is. The Prince of Peace is very gentle. The Lion of the tribe of Judah somebody I'm familiar with as well. And you're not, America. And you have no idea the mercy and grace of the God King. Because you're not there. You're here. You're here. And this is just immature. In my world with the king, it's just immature. There's no way that the federal government should have allowed Donald Trump on a ballot in my world. Okay, so we are really far gone. But John Pavlovitz and I are writing to Gen Z because they're younger and they're not thinking straight. And all they do when they come around me is complain about everything. Because they feel helpless. And I understand that. But that's not helping those of us that have the actual voice that has power. What you're doing is not helping us, Gen Z. And this isn't helping either. This here. So I'm just not going to allow my runestones to what you do is you ask runestones questions and you get answers of wisdom. And that's what's going to go with this article on runestones today. What's the question that Cara should ask, y'all, with the kind of life that I lead? What's the question that I should ask? Is there anything positive to ask? We have to do better, John says. We need to reverse the Trump effect on America. Okay. How can we reverse the Trump effect on America? How can we stop in our private lives ripping each other apart? How can you stop? Because I never did. I did get ripped apart. I got disinherited. I got trampled. And I am not the only person in America like this. So, how do you stop devouring one another, America? Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z. We'll leave Baby Boomer out of this. They're getting older, and John's correct. We're tired. Well, Baby Boomer is more tired than I am as X. So, they need. We cannot weather this widespread inhumanity. And that's Baby Boomer talking. They can't. So, the baton is passed to Gen X. And what I'm going to say is, we need to pace ourselves. But I guess the question is, how do we reverse this? How do we do better? Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z. It is in the Bible about how you're devouring one another. It's screaming at you. So that's going to have to go in here. I told John on Twitter, on the pinned article on Runestones today, I need music here. I don't even know which music to apply. So I'm going to apply the positive list. That's going to go in this art. Okay. No, I'm sorry. No. That's going to go in the positive song list with runestones. Will not go in this article. This is going to go on the agnostic website because of the negativity, because we, as agnostics, we're dealing with it. I have a drawing notebook. Yes, I will find it. The positive one for runestones and musictoday.com will go on it. I was hoping to show it to you so you can see some of the last artwork as I close this one. I believe it is here with me. Let's see if I can find it. sometimes I lose my notebooks because I get so discouraged with how much so many of us are dealing with. Ah, here's baby kitty. Here's Bay. Say hi, Bay. Okay. I think people around town have seen me with my, this, I love this one. It rolls around. Yes, yes. So let's take a look. The positive one with runestone draw, and my runestones are already in there, so I guess I'm going. So I did BG's and ball jar here. This is part of my drawing. This was Frank Zappa, an interview I did. I love, and this was, I did not read these. That's my flower tarot, my roses tarot. This was, let's see, I automatically came in with some music. This was Frank Schaefer. Podcasts and Conversation with Frank Schaefer. Loves that one. This was hard. I'm not going to explain that. But this is on a blog. I did not throw runes here. This one is a large runes. 1970 is a beautiful year. And so I did a message. And this is on the revival. This is very important. This is a very important piece. In the Filibuster, Joyful Labor Day 2021. This was in Labor Day. And that's the last one. So let's close with the message of this very important piece here that I got. The 3 runes. In our dwelling, there is strength for walking seasonally into universal wholeness, continuing unto the fullness of harvest. So this is very important, and I will be able to take it with Mr. John here with a beautiful song list. And I've already told you here, so I'll be able to listen to this and get the question out. Let's see what the runes are going to say to us. Thank you for sharing, Mr. John. Continuing to share, even though you're just as discouraged as I am, I can tell. But your work is so very encouraging. Thank you, sir.